Can you tell us that up late last night, Theo? Nothing's working for me right now.
Going through it.
Oh, that's all right. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. We'll go live when we're not live. We're not live when we are live. We are live right now. Good morning, Tuscaloosa. We're skipping the little lady voice intro, jumping right into it. We're live at the Daniel State Farm Studios. It is a good morning as Alabama basketball took down the SEC's #1 team last night. Whew, what a game in Coleman Coliseum. And we're going to talk about it live on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. We're here in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. Call Derek for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. We appreciate everybody who calls Derek for all your insurance needs. We appreciate everybody who uses Purple Turtle Roofing for all of your roofing needs. If you've got problems, trouble spots, if you got concerns with your roof, call Purple Turtle Roofing. They will get up on your roof, let you know what's going on, give you the peace of mind that you deserve. Check them out online today at roofturtle.com. Our friend Brax Garrison will come out and check out your roof. Make sure that you're good to go. Check them out, roofturtle.com. Like we said, we're in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. We're here with our man Theo Fernandez. You can find Theo at Theo Fernandez __ on the Twitter machine, covering lots of Alabama athletics for BamaCentral.com. You can always find the show on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find the Joe Gaither Show. And we are going to spend most of the time talking about Alabama's big old win, 100-97. We're going to avoid some of the developments in the court case, the Charles Bediako court case, because that was happening as I was driving in. I believe that the NCAA is pushing back, but we'll see how that all plays out. At least tomorrow is a big, big day, and it sounds like Charles Bediako's camp is trying to push it even further. But first, there's a huge basketball game, a big old win as Bama bounced back last night, 100-97, beating Texas A&M. Theo Fernandez, good morning. How we doing, sir?
Good morning, Joe. I'm doing great. Happily wrong about Alabama basketball. Yesterday on the show, making my prediction that the Crimson Tide would lose. And first of all, I want to open by saying that was, this is my third season in Tuscaloosa. That is one of the two best games I have ever seen at Coleman Coliseum in person. Joe, you were talking about the Houston game. That's one of the games that many people talk about as being one of the best. But for me, it comes down to, in my time, 2024 overtime win over Florida. I think it's the only one that may be above this game right here, because last night we all just bore witness to one of the best, just most fun offensive college basketball regular season games you'll see. That was incredible basketball.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to be there and watch it. I was sitting there in the middle of the first half thinking, wow, this buckyball, this full court press is pretty impressive to watch. And I thought Alabama actually handled it very, very well. There was a couple of instances in the first half where I thought, oh, they're starting to speed you up. They're starting to get to you. But they never really did. Alabama only 6 turnovers. I was really, really impressed with the way that the Crimson Tide handled the press and really was able to still generate offense and get up to it. Now, they never broke the press to the degree where they were throwing in slam dunks and really getting a lot of easy looks. But yeah, just stylistically, the first half flew by. We almost got to the under 12 timeout before, without hitting the under 16 timeout. It was that fluid of a game. You got from the opening tip to about 13 and change before the first time out. So it was almost a full 7 minutes of action back and forth in Coleman Coliseum, up and down. And Alabama jumped out to about a 9-point lead at one point early in the first half. And I thought, oh, okay, they're getting to it. And then Texas A&M just reeled you right back in. They jump out to about 5-6 point lead. But Alabama ties it at halftime and ultimately digs their way all the way through the second half and comes away with kind of a gritty 100-97 win. I mean, it's hard to call a game with 197 points gritty, but it was some gutsy. It felt gutsy towards the end. Alabama leaving it all out there for a much needed win.
It did, Joe, and I think one of the biggest parts of this ball game, you talk about Alabama didn't necessarily break the press a ton. You don't need to break the press. You need to survive the press. The Crimson Tide absolutely did that. Just 6 turnovers. That is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
That is like just hats off to the entire team and the way that they were able to handle the pressure and nearly had a seventh, really, really costly turnover at the end of the game with what almost was a 10-second violation. But just across the board, Alabama did a fantastic job handling the press. And this is the kind of game that reminds you of the upside that this team has. That is my biggest takeaway from what we saw last night. Like, yeah, there were negatives. No shortage of them, and we'll talk about them, but just overall impressed by the way this Alabama team went to war with one of the most fun, one of the most stylistically unique teams in the nation, and came out on top.
So Alabama moves to 5-4 in the SEC standings. Now 2 games behind leaders Texas A&M and Florida. And with 9 games left, I know we were doing it Monday, Tuesday, kind of writing off Alabama as SEC regular season champions. And I still think that is a pretty low possibility, but it's not dead. Really, the top 4 seeds is the main goal at this point with 9 games left. And I think you put yourself in a really strong position to make a run at those. You are sitting there. You got 2 teams at 7-2, Florida and A&M, as I just said, Kentucky at 7-3, and then a big old clump of 6-3s, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. You're going to get your crack at Arkansas and Tennessee. You still got two games against those guys, and then there you are, Alabama at 5-4, leading the 4-loss teams at the next number. So what's that? 6, 7. Alabama's in 7th right now, at the top of the tie for 7th in that spot. So you're just a game or so off of one of those top 4 seeds, and that's going to be really important. And yeah, Theo, you just nailed it. It looked like a team that, is actually dialed in. Is actually dialed into the game plan. So you've had 2 games now, 2 of your last 3 games. I mean, you beat the brakes off Missouri at home. You went to Florida and didn't even clock in. And then you got back home and you looked ready. You looked plugged in and ready to go against Texas A&M. Whatever the formula is, Coach Oates, for the last 2 home games, let's try to make that. Let's try to make that canon here the rest of the season, where you take that formula and you implement it game in and game out. Obviously, Alabama has a huge game on Saturday against the Auburn Tigers, who are tied with you in the standings at 5-4. But you saw it last night with the entire team just looked like they had an edge, and quite frankly, I think that walk-on Jacob Martin did a lot for that. If you didn't get to the game early, you didn't see this. And, man, first off, the crowd was
atrocious.
The student section was atrocious. The crowd improved. The crowd got to a level of acceptability. But when the national anthem was going, which, by the way, probably the worst national anthem I've heard in Columbia Coliseum in 3 years, that's neither here nor there. But when the national anthem was going, it was a very, very bad crowd. And I thought, man, am I going to tweet something? Am I going to say something? But then I realized Ryan Williams is signing autographs in the concourse. Yeah. And I literally think the entire crowd was trying to get a Ryan Williams selfie or picture, because they did trickle in by about 6:05, 6:10. You had a nice crowd with the general population. The student section crowd. Was there a big formal going on last night, Theo? Was there a party going on last night? Was one of the fraternities throwing a big old shindig? What was the deal last night? Was a big old celebrity coming to the Ferg? Were they showing a free movie? Or what the heck was going on at campus that was more exciting? Because the student section was bad attendance last night.
First of all, anytime, my favorite thing is anytime anyone, myself included, tweets something about the student section attendance, one of the first things is, exams at the University of Alabama.
We didn't come here to play school.
We did not come here to play school. But no, I mean, it's, I don't know, people go to the Red Shed Wednesday night karaoke. They go to the just all the different events.
What's the specials? Was there like a Cinco de Drinko or something?
There's always something. They do, I'm not into the bar scene anymore over at Tuscaloosa. They do the
good for you,
Galette's Wine Wednesday.
Oh, that's right.
That's a big thing. I know our boy Henry Sklar was celebrating his 21st birthday.
Happy birthday, Henry!
Out there. But yeah, no,
huge development with the Eagles yesterday for Henry's birthday.
Yes.
Did you see this?
I did not.
offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland resigned.
Oh,
which is a huge deal around here too. That's the only reason. That's the other reason why I'm bringing it up, because he coached here at Alabama. I don't know that it means that Jeff Stoutland's coming back to Alabama, because the staff that he coached with way back when is not here. But yeah, just huge deal as Jeff Stoutland, one of the best offensive line coaches really in football, resigned from the Eagles. So I'm sorry, Henry. Happy birthday to you.
We'll welcome him with open arms.
You dang right we would.
Or in Alabama. I guess either one of those. Well,
you can come on back. You can come to Tuscaloosa right now.
Second guy, right?
That's right. And continue. Why weren't they there?
Yeah, and this is what really frustrates me about this student section. I've heard stories from.
It wasn't that cold.
Yeah, and I've heard these stories from people like Sam Holly, Hunter Brantley, guys who are over at Media Tuscaloosa, who've been going to these games their whole life and talking about how, it's always been pretty empty, right? And about just how much it improved over the last couple of years, and how, Brandon Miller has this team as the number one team in the country. You have to get there 90 minutes before every single SEC game. And I even remember my freshman year, I remember not getting into the Alabama-Auburn game because I thought, I'll just walk in 45 minutes before, and realizing, wow, okay, so we're serious about this. And we see the way this fan base responds to adversity, which is by drinking and not watching basketball. They just, quite frankly, do not care unless this team is playing Auburn or Tennessee or is ranked in the top 15. It's pretty shameful that you can have a basketball program performing at this level and just not care. I've said this before on the show. My roommates, my kind of friends outside of the media stuff, are what I use as the barometer, right? People who really passionate about football.
Yeah, and they just wanted to stay home playing Xbox last night.
Yeah, nothing going on. They did not want to go to the game. They had no interest. I told them, hey, come on, guys. There are free T-shirts. I texted them because I rolled in a little bit late. I was finishing up a shift at WVUA, and I texted them, like, guys, there's free T-shirts. There's great seats available, and did not move the needle at all.
Wanted to sit around playing Fortnite.
And everybody will want to come, when Auburn comes to town. Everyone wanted to come when Purdue was here early in the season when the hype was there. But the fact that the best team, the number one team in the SEC, can come in for a game that just about everyone was saying, yes, this will be an incredibly fun basketball game.
And it was.
And it was. And you missed a phenomenal game because you can't be bothered to care about a team the second things go wrong. It's a joke of a basketball fan base, student section, honestly. I've heard things about the Crimson Chaos leader, about how he's a big step down from what there was before. People talking about it. He's always like on his phone and not actively engaged the way they used to be. It's just across the board disappointing.
Well, I think if any basketball program has proven that, not to say the regular season doesn't matter, because it does matter, but you go back to a couple years ago when Alabama makes their Final Four run. If you said, hey, man, you've got to bet, will Alabama go to a Final Four this year or not? You would have bet no. You would have bet, this team's got a lot of stinkers. They were playing like in the hundreds in defensive efficiency. Yes. They were not really very good on the defensive end, but they were able to put it together. And so to me, you need to take that example from a couple of seasons ago and say, the frustrations that you've had this season with coaching to the basketball team, it's valid. It's okay to be upset about losing to Florida, barely being competitive against Florida. Absolutely, it's okay. It's okay to be upset about, barely being competitive against Gonzaga and, kind of flying by the seat of your pants against Arizona. So you've seen Alabama kind of struggle against some of the top-end teams. I think it's perfectly okay to be emotional. Perfectly okay to say, man, that really upsets me. That disappoints me. I wanted to win, that sort of thing. But the team, as we saw last night, and as you open with Theo, the potential is still extremely high, which is why I was so surprised about a week ago, when you said, they won't make the Sweet 16. They're not going to get to the Sweet 16. And I thought, wow, all they've got to do is a little bit of clicking here, a little bit of chemistry here. And again, the chemistry, not really, the chemistry being hard to come by. The trivia question, Theo, with Noah Williamson not playing last night, Who is the one scholarship player who has played in every single game this year?
Houston.
Yay! Bingo! Yes, well done. You are paying attention. But that should show you just how hard it's been to get some chemistry on this team, because everybody's been in and out of the lineup. No Taylor Bowen last night. And then, Noah was a coach's decision. You weren't really going to play him against that level of athleticism and that press and that matchup. Texas A&M didn't really have a true big man. I thought that Rashawn Agee was really talented, but obviously not necessarily the most the biggest player, the biggest post threat. He was more of a big forward, a big small forward, perhaps. But okay, so let's get to the game. All right, so yeah, I'm disappointed in the fan base, particularly the students, because the adults actually did pour in there at a pretty decent rate for a Wednesday at 6:00. I thought, but by about 6:05, 6:10, you had a pretty good crowd, and they were into it, because towards the later parts of the game, especially in the second half, with the officiating frustrations, and look, I don't think that the officials were bad last night. I think the Alabama fans had the crimson-colored glasses on, and they should have been. They should have been rah-rah for every foul call to try to influence the officials, but I do think the officials were fine. I thought the crowd got into it in the second half, and so give the adults a little bit of credit. To the game, I was super impressed with a lot of players, but my biggest takeaway is, can we consider Aden Holloway just running point guard, and Labaron, you play the two-man. You guys switch it up. I know it's Labaron's team and Labaron's the star, but Aden, when he's in there, he initiates the offense. He gets to the hole. He's scoring at the rim. He's scoring, hanging around floaters in the lane, and then he's kicking it out. I loved Aden Holloway's game last night. Aden Holloway took his first shot. Emily Smart pointed it out in the post game. His first shot came at his first real shot. He made some free throws at 6:45 left in the first half. But his first actual shot, he missed a 3-pointer at 5:40 left in the first half. That's your first shot. And then he made some free throws, a rebound, missed another 3-pointer right at the end of the half. But then he started to really get going. Good layup, 15 minutes left in the second half. Good 3-pointer, miss. Good layup. He gets into the lane, bunch of free throws, and obviously makes the circus shot towards the end of the game. Aden Holloway with 20 points, 6 rebounds for the little guard. 5 defensive rebounds, 1 offensive rebound, 4 assists, and 1 steal. He did have 2 turnovers, but a pretty good night. In 34 minutes of action, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals for Aden Holloway.
Yeah, and we saw this, just the way that he can impact a game overall, even against Missouri last Tuesday. I think he shot 2 of 8, had 8 assists, still made an impact. He's really, really impressed me this year as a playmaker, as someone who can lead an offense. And I don't hate your take, Joe. Philon, first of all. Philon. I knew that was coming. First of all, I did not get a chance to watch the presser last night.
We had Aden and Amari Allen.
Let's talk about Philon at all. Did he say anything about?
Not really specifically. Hunter Cyber asked him about what changed for Aden Holloway and Labaron Philon, because they both ended up with pretty nice score. Aden's 16 points, 16 of his 20 points coming in the second half. So he really asked him about them turning it on. Labaron had scored 17 points, 13 of his 17 points coming in the second half. And so he really asked him about, what did you say to those two guys to get them going? And his only real answer was, well, we didn't talk about offense. I talked about the need for steals, for rebounds, for hustle, for, good defense, for blue collar. And he said, and he did the Nate Oates thing. If you do the blue collar points, the offense will come. And it did. But that was his comments on Labaron. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I don't know. Labaron just kind of underwhelmed me for a 17-point performance where you shot over 50%. He still is settling for these threes too much. I think we just talked about this yesterday, but there's sometimes where you'll just pull up. Like, there's one right around the 5-minute mark of the first half where I'm like, why are you shooting this, man? You have the room. go make a play. So
made 2 big ones down the stretch.
He did.
Though.
And then you just look at it. I know
short shot clock at 8:15, and then and then one to answer a 3-pointer at 6:33. Keep going.
But yeah, besides that, I mean,
because I agree with you. Keep going. I definitely.
Philon had the second lowest plus minus on the team. The only one with the lower one was the professional player who's playing for this program, Bediako, -9 in just 19 minutes. Wow. Labaron leads the team with 36 minutes, -4 on there, and I like the idea of Holloway facilitating offense more. I like the idea of things running through him at least to some extent. I mean, plus 11 with him on the floor and only 4 assists. It felt like more. It felt like he was
got a lot of hockey.
Yeah, right. That's who knows how many of those he had. I wish I had the access to the ability to track those better. I got to pay for some kind of service there, but I was really impressed by I was much more impressed by Holloway than Philon. And man, that shot at the end, that is unreal. That was just, I think my mouth, like, I think I was just like in shock, like how did that go down? Very impressed by what Aden Holloway did last night.
Yeah, Marcus Hill was guarding him down on the baseline right in front of us as time's kind of running down. You're up by 2, I believe, 97. I think it was 97, 95. And he is body bumping, and kind of works himself into a weird position and throws up a kind of a prayer as he's getting fouled, and the officials called the foul, and he made the shot. So really, really impressive for Alabama. Became the 100th point, became the 99th and then 100th point at the free throw line. I just think that Aden Holloway dictates the offense. He at least dictates like with Labaron. He is such a the talent is still still evident. Like you can see it every time Labaron's got the ball. You're like, wow, that's a real good ball handler. And he makes some 3-pointers last night. He plays pretty well. He's 3 of 7 from beyond the arc, but it's 3 of 4 in the second half. So he really dialed in from deep in the second half. I just feel like Labaron, and look, this is me, never coached a basketball game in my life, but I just feel like Labaron is not assertive enough on the offensive end. I feel like he's just letting the game come to him and being a little bit lackadaisical in the sense of, well, I could always just step back in 3. I could always just, pull up and hit a 3-pointer right here. And I do think he's a good 3-point shooter, but I think he's most effective. And Alabama's offense is most effective when the ball handler, when the initiator is initiating, is driving downhill, is making sure that the Alabama offense gets a paint touch on every possession. It doesn't have to be a layup and dunk. It doesn't have to end that way. But if you get the ball into the paint, whether you're dribbling and driving, whether you're passing down into it, whatever the case may be, you get the ball into the paint, collapse the defense, then you can decide whether I'm taking a layup, whether I'm taking a contested shot of the rim, getting a foul call, whether I'm getting a dunk, or whether I'm kicking it out for one of these beautiful threes that are wide open. Instead of settling for just, dribble. I guess I'll take this 3-point shot.
Yes, and I was very impressed with the just overall ability to find shooters. It's something that I wrote about and that Oates spoke about earlier in the week, about guys just not having the foresight to find the shooters. And if there was one advantage of the press and A&M, getting back on defense later and all that, like it was that, yes, we were actually finding guys in a better position to fire up a 3. Alabama enters the game averaging the most 3-pointers per game of any team in the country at just over 35, attempts 48 today, 19 assists. That's above the season average. Like it was just, man, they let him rip, and he shot 33%. Could be a little better, but overall, just I liked just about everything I saw offensively from this team. Oh yeah, I mean 48 threes, 21 twos. That's crazy, man. That is Alabama, one of 7 high major teams this year, shooting more 3-pointers than 2s, which only 4 high major teams have done that in NCAA history. So that tells you how things are moving stylistically in the nation. Alabama really just taking charge of that trend once again.
Our man Cam Metzger joining us on Facebook. Good morning, Cam. Hope you're doing well, having a great week. You're exactly right. He says he needs to play more like Sears, drive to the bucket, and draw fouls. I mean, it's Mark Sears, it's J.D. Davison, drive to the bucket, draw fouls, kick the ball out, get the ball to your shooters. If you've got some of the best shooters in the country, Javon Quinterly, I'm going to drive to the bucket. I'm going to find Brandon Miller. I'm going to find Noah Clowney. I'm going to find some of these shooters on the wing, or I'm going to get myself to the rim for some free throws. He said that would definitely open up the perimeter for more threes. He's exactly right. Good to see you, Cam. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, Philon didn't even go to the line last night.
See, that's unacceptable.
How are you you should
be having eight free throws a game.
You should. And you get the whistle. You really do. He has a very, very good whistle. People call things when he is driving, when he facilitates offense in there. And yeah, 0. I didn't realize it was 0 until I checked a second ago. And
that's unacceptable.
That's really bad.
All right, second biggest takeaway from last night, Theo, was Amari Allen and London Jemison. The two freshmen really, really laid it out there. London Jemison scores 10 points, but he scored like 7 points in like 30 seconds. He's good. He goes, good three, good layup, good dunk, all from 11:04 down to 10:16 in the second half. So it was more than 30 seconds. It was, 45 and 4 is 49, 50 seconds. He scores basically 5 points, 7 points right there. 7 points right there, 7 of his 10. And then he ends up making another 3 in the first half with a good 3-pointer. But was really, I thought London Jemison played, statistically, he definitely did. But I think he played his best game in an Alabama uniform last night because he didn't force, like London has been one of those players that you don't want to slow him down by any means, but he has this season been a little bit of a quick trigger with the 3-point shot. With you're passing to me on the wing, I'm shooting it. Yes, that is the system. We do want you to be taking shots, but just be a little more selective, just a little bit more selective. Yes. And last night, I think he was that. He passed up a couple of looks that I think he would have shot earlier in the season. 10 points. He had 4 rebounds. So really getting after it on both ends of the floor. Only 11 minutes played. And look, you don't need 12 minutes played. Excuse me. You don't need like 50 points out of you. You just need go get me almost a dozen. Go give me some rebounds. Go defend somebody. I thought London Jemison played his best game in an Alabama uniform, and I thought Amari Allen, it looked like he was back to Amari Allen's regular old self after missing a couple of games and then being maybe not 100% for the Florida game. 12 points for Amari Allen, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals for Amari Allen. I was obviously sitting over in the corner just in love with Amari Allen.
Just some gritty plays. He tweeted junkyard dog, and that sums it up pretty well. I mean, he was getting physical. He was getting in there, and missing 2 free throws in the final 4 minutes is, come on, man. He missed with 3:59 left. Alabama up by 6. A&M goes on a little run to send the game down to the wire, and then gets fouled. 2-point lead for Alabama, and yeah, you can't be missing
clutch free throws like that.
There, yeah, could have iced the game. Instead, Rylan Griffin ends up getting the potential game-tying 3, which that would have been such a crazy moment. You know, he got such a clean look too, which is just absurd off of the miss. And was it London that was put in?
Yes,
it was London who was put in late. Took Allen's position underneath the basket. I don't know how I felt about that. I feel like I'd almost rather. I know you got the size, but I'd almost trust Allen more to come down with that basketball. It did not work out for Alabama's Rylan Griffin. Just had such a good look at that 3. The boos for Rylan Griffin were.
It was moderate, but it wasn't like overwhelming. There wasn't. And after the game, you were probably already gone. But after the game, Rylan was on the basketball court, just hammering it up with all the old Alabama players and coaches that he knew. So it was good to see Rylan with a good relationship still with the Alabama program. I think he was close to coming from Kansas back to Alabama this year.
I thought so too. But things are working out for him. He's in a great system where he is very well set up to succeed. While we're talking about those guys, we think we need to talk about the guy who I think absolutely played his best game in an Alabama uniform, and that's Houston Mallette. He was the toughest player on the court throughout. right up there with Amari Allen. He was, you saw end of the first half, Aden Holloway misses a three. Mallette perfect tip back to Latrell Wrightson, who drains it. And was it Wrightson? Yeah, I think it was Wrightson.
It was
three. Hey, Alabama wins it by 3 points, and Mallette gives them 3 points right there. And then you went 4 of 8 from beyond the arc. You scored 12 points off making threes, which we know, like, that's what Houston Mallette's offensive repertoire is. He's not going to drive to the basket, which has hurt the team at times because defenses don't expect him or respect his ability to drive at all. But we know what he is. We know he's a spot-up shooter, and he did a good job of that. And I just overall was very happy with what he did on the court, making tough plays, 5 rebounds for the Tide, third highest plus minus on this team at 7. Just Mallette made some tough plays, and that's the kind of performance that I think we expected from him coming in. And it adds a lot to this team, especially when you look at the injuries, depth issues, if Houston Mallette can be the guy that Alabama thought he would be.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Houston as well. He's given you almost nothing in SEC play and ends up with 4 threes last night.
Yeah.
4 of 8 from beyond the arc, and just filled up the box score as well. Fouled out. I didn't realize he fouled out, but 5 rebounds. 5 rebounds and really getting into a lot of dirty ball situations, creating some jump balls and just getting in the muck with Texas A&M. You need a guy like Houston Mallette. You need a guy. Look, if you go 4 of 8 every night from beyond the arc, you're playing your 15 minutes. Like, we're putting you in there for those 4 3-point shots. And so, yeah, I agree with you. He had a really nice game.
Yeah, Alabama really did try to sell it at the end, right? And the performance down the stretch remains a very big concern for me.
Sure.
The fact that I've lost count of how many games Alabama's lost or almost lost because of free throws. There was the Purdue game where you missed them down the stretch. There was the Texas game, which was horrendous. Oklahoma, where you allowed him to look at a game-winning 3 because he couldn't deliver. And now this one that says it's at least 4, probably 1 or 2 more I'm blanking on, but just, it's bad. It is going to bite this team in a big moment. And I come into games now expecting Alabama to not be able to put opponents away, which is a horrible identity to have as a basketball team a month away from March Madness or a month away from postseason basketball.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The rebounding's been a problem, and that was a very, very good missed free throw at the end, right, to allow Rylan Griffin to get the ball. And a lot of that's kind of fluky to an extent. It's something you just got to practice and really prepare yourself for. I think that's where you want to have, either Williamson or Bull Bowen available. So can't really fault. I'm not as upset about allowing Rylan Griffin the opportunity as maybe I should be, but there were downsides, but I think the good far outweighs the bad. I also want to give some flowers to Aden Sherrill. He's had some really rough games.
Played really well, I thought.
Yeah. I thought he had a good performance, 8 rebounds. He's had some really bad games at the free throw line, 8 of 8.
He's the only one who didn't miss, right?
Yeah, he is the only one who did not miss a free throw. So happy with what he ended up with 8
rebounds as well. Really, really tough on the boards. 1 assist, 3 blocks, protecting the rim, 3 blocks and a steal for Aden Sherrill. I thought he played a really, really strong game as well. Now, one more player to single out, and then I'll talk about a big picture question for you, Theo. Charles Bediako, yes. Only 5 points, 4 rebounds, and getting ears full by Nate Oates. Nate Oates was really letting him have it a couple different times. And you said you didn't hear the post-game press conference, but he was asked about Charles and coaching him that way. And he goes, well, maybe he's not used to getting coached hard in the G League. He's like, this isn't the G League. He's played for me before. He knows the standard. He knows what it takes, and he knows how intense we get around here, more or less. somebody I was asked on Mobile Radio yesterday before the game about Charles Bediako and why he hasn't, been this superstar type player in the 3 games and now 4 games that he's played for Alabama. And I said, well, he looks, very much like the same player that he was when he was here in Tuscaloosa. He doesn't look like he's that much better. I don't really see a new element of his game that's been developed. I see, well, he is a rim runner just like he was. Maybe he's a little better at that. He's, a rim defender just like he was. Maybe he's a little better than that. But I don't really see Charles as being this, oh, we're throwing it down into the paint. He's Shaquille O'Neal. He's going to take over a game, and you're going to have to double and triple him, and that sort of thing. Just because he's been playing in the G League doesn't make him all of a sudden just like some masterful basketball player. And you saw it last night where he was missing some defensive coverages. He missed a defensive coverage, and Nate Oates lost his dadgum mind. And immediately, I think Aden Holloway had just been subbed out, and maybe I think maybe his buttocks had just hit the bench. And Charles Bediako missed a coverage, and Nate ran to the bench and grabbed Sherelle and threw him right back in the game. Yeah. No, you can't be, And Charles came off the court, and Nate was in his face, and Aden said, "Oh, my rest period of 4 seconds is over."
I'll admit I was wrong about Bediako. Like I thought coming in that he would be such a more polished basketball player. And it really raises some questions to me about the G League, the same questions that Nate Oates brought up. Like what is going on there? Like you hear so much about when you're playing it. I think the common idea that people came in with was when you play against professionals and you reach a level of basketball where everybody is just so gifted physically, it becomes so much about IQ, right? About knowing where to be, about knowing what to do. That has not been the case because Bediako very much looks like a player who just gets by off physicality. I am borderline astounded by the fact that like this guy should be the smartest player on the court at all times. He should be the most polished defensive player. Well, he should be among the most polished defensive centers we have ever seen in college basketball. What is going on in the G League? What are these coaches doing? He does not know what to do on the court, right? The way that you think he should. I've been very, very underwhelmed. And look, at the end of the day, 2023, Charles Bediako was a good basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
2025, Charles Bediako is still a guy who can have a role on the team, and who knows, if he will or not. But we'll address that point shortly, I'm sure. He is not a new player. This is almost just like, oh, man, Bediako suffered a really bad injury. He was away from the team for 2 years. Now he's come back, and he's the same guy. He's done nothing whatsoever to help his pro stock. If anything, it probably signals, okay, you should probably not go back to the G League for $40,000, and you should probably go get yourself a nice deal somewhere in Europe and live out a good life there. Because there is no NBA future for Charles Bediako.
Spain is calling.
Yes. You'll have a much better life in Barcelona than you would in, Grand Rapids. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I obviously you needed the help in the post. You needed that. Like Noah Williamson is still, Noah Williamson. And then obviously Collins is not going to be available the rest of the year. So you don't know about Keaton Bristow. So like you needed the help just from a body standpoint, but you didn't go out and get Dirk Nowitzki. You didn't go out and get, give me your favorite. You didn't go out and get Kristaps Porzingis.
You didn't even go out and get like an Andre Drummond, like
no,
right? Like
exactly
the style of player that we think Bediako could have been.
Right.
No, you don't have that whatsoever.
All right, so big picture question to kind of wrap up the basketball for the day. As Alabama beat Texas A&M 100-97, bouncing back from a very bad performance against Florida. Before the game, you hadn't made it in the gym, but Jacob Martin gets in the huddle and just goes berserk. Berserk undersells it. He was red-faced, bouncing around the huddle, pushing people around, rah, 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 like so much so that it caught basically a lot of our attentions over in the media section of what's going on there. Who's in the middle of that pile? So he goes berserk and then breaks down the team, 1, 2, 3, Bama, that sort of thing. They go into the locker room. They come back out. They do the first half. You already talked about Houston Mallette tipping out the ball to Latrell Wrightsville for a 3-point shot to tie the game. Well, Jacob Martin's one of the first people off the bench, and he is right back in everybody's face. Rah, 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 getting everybody excited for, to go into halftime and to keep the intensity high. I thought the team played with a level of intensity that we haven't seen in a couple of weeks. Coach Oates said that they had one of the best practices. He said they had the best practice they've had in SEC play on Tuesday. I believe Tuesday. He was confused whether it was Tuesday or Monday, but called it the best practice that they had in SEC play. So to me, I think you saw it. You open up Theo saying, "Oh, it shows you the potential is still pretty high on this team." I'm wondering, Theo, if last night's performance gives you confidence or gives you a thought of, oh yeah, this team is starting to find it. They're starting to figure out what kind of level of competitiveness it takes to compete at the top end level. Coach Oates talked about the players going at each other. He said Amari Allen and Labaron Philon went at each other in practice and was really jawing at each other in practice. So it's like, is the team finding the level of intensity that it takes to compete at a high level? Or is last night just the last gasp response for, hey, we can't go out like this? And will we see them get drummed on Saturday against Auburn in a hostile environment? Crumble in the face of adversity.
Yeah, adversity has been just about this team's biggest problem for most of the year. So I don't have a concrete answer, honestly.
That's why I think it's like you could go either way.
This team has thrown me for a loop so many times this year, Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. I want to say that we will see shades of this performance throughout the season. I want to say that this is the kind of performance that brings a team together, that reminds a unit that sets the standard for a unit to play by for the rest of the year, right? You don't just have this kind of game in a vacuum. It's something that, at the very least, has elements lingering around. But we've seen so many of the same negatives affect this team for so long, right? We have a body of work that suggests that the flaws on this team are not going away anytime soon. So it's tough to say because I do still think that the Florida game was a bit of an outlier. I think that is a game where Alabama just got outworked, outplayed, out-hustled, and I don't believe we are going to see that to that extent the rest of the season. I don't know if we're going to see a performance like this where everybody was just so dialed in, so intensely into the game on the court. I don't know if that is quite the level that we'll reach. I think you have two extremes, right? A game that went just about perfectly from that regard versus a game that went horrendously. Alabama's going to fall somewhere in the middle. I don't know if we're going to see this level of intensity throughout the season. Yeah, I know I'm kind of running in circles here because it's hard to say. I do think that Alabama will deliver a solid performance in Auburn on Saturday. I don't think we're going to sit here on Monday and talk about, Alabama's effort, Alabama's leadership. I don't think we're going to have those discussions. That makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense. So we'll put the basketball game to bed. You've got to get to class. Everybody follow Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _. Tell him good luck in school. Tell him, encourage him. Everybody needs encouragement. And Theo, just like myself, I need encouragement as well. Let's get out of here for the day. We'll tell you again about Purple Turtle Roofing. We are brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. If you've got roof damage, you can call them today at 877-787-6635. You can also check them out online at roofturtle.com. We appreciate Dustin Foley and his crew sponsoring the program. They specialize in commercial roofing, residential roofing, emergency storm repairs. Luckily, we've had good weather this week. Emergency storm repairs, insurance claim support, and much more. You heard from Brax Garrison earlier in the week. They can come come out. They'll talk some sports with you. They'll give you the peace of mind that you deserve in your home. You deserve to make sure that you deserve to feel good in your home and not to be worried about your roof, not to be worried about a leak, not to be worried about insulation problems. Call Purple Turtle Roofing today at 877-787-6635. Visit them online at roofturtle.com. And as we say goodbye to Theo Fernandez, we want to let you know that Alabama softball is in action, is opening up their season today. Right now, well, they're opening up their season today.
2:30.
Okay, I see 2 o'clock on
Maybe
rolltide.com.
2:30,
2 o'clock. They're taking on Villanova. They've got a weekend kind of tournament setting right here in Tuscaloosa. Katie Wyndham's going to be covering it for BamaCentral.com. Follow Katie Wyndham at Katie Wyndham _. She's going to be putting live updates out because I believe it's not going to be on TV. So you do want to have the Bama Central live updates rolling if you want to see Katie's perspective on the season. It opens up today. Alabama women's basketball taking on Ole Miss tonight. So we'll see if those ladies can keep some momentum going. They ran into a little bit of hard times. They were going really good. They ran into some adversity, but they're still battling. Alabama taking on Villanova, East Carolina, Georgia Tech this weekend in the Road Stadium. No, actually, all in Atlanta. Excuse me, not
Yes.
here. It's in Atlanta. Oh, all right. Okay. Good to know. It's not here in Tuscaloosa. I thought it was. It's in Atlanta. So they're going over. It's the Buzz Classic, of course. Georgia Tech, Yellow Jacket, Buzz Classic. So today at 2 o'clock is the opening game against Villanova. So we'll make sure you keep up with Katie. We're going to have Katie on pretty soon to preview the softball, to talk about the softball season. Theo, appreciate your time today, man. You got any other thoughts you want to get out for the day? Hire Jeff Stoutland?
Yeah, absolutely. I had not even realized that he had hit the market, but he's got to be someone that
Don't ruin Henry's birthday hangover with that.
That's awesome, man. That he's available.
Apparently, Sirianni and Patullo jacked the run game from Jeff Stoutland, is what I'm reading. And Jeff Stoutland said, "Well, my title says run game coordinator, and y'all are stealing all the shine. I'm getting out of here."
Yeah, there's a home for him in Tuscaloosa.
That's right. That's right.
Or East Rutherford, New Jersey. If that doesn't work out.
Follow Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _. He's going to Spanish class, so tell him, "Hola, ¿cómo estás? Y tú?" We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Friday edition of the Joe Gaither Show at Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.